All frucked up, day 62. So, in truth, I'm recording this video on the morning of July the 6th, but it is intended for July the 5th. The hotel Wi-Fi has been an extreme letdown, so the uploads have been rather difficult to get through, especially when I need to use my phone, and any use of my phone outside of the YouTube upload coupled with the Wi-Fi difficulties just, resets the upload. So my apologies for being delinquent with this content. But I do find it interesting that the event that I attended this evening afforded an opportunity that I would have never had in any other context to speak to one of the greats of bodybuilding that has, turned to a coaching career that spanned, 20 plus years now. And everything that was discussed was directly related to what I'm doing here with this low-fat, high-carb diet. So I feel very privileged to have been in that room, and I'm not going to name names. And if someone, needs a name in order to verify the information, or it's no, I'm not going to disclose that because it was a private event. So, I would just encourage people to do their homework and vet things out themselves. And if you need to double check the veracity of the information, then just, do something on your own and see what kind of results you get. But I would like to circle back to Dr. Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief, because in that Q&A session this evening, the speaker, he spoke about the placebo effect, which Dr. Bruce Lipton speaks about in The Biology of Belief. And there was other discussions about, visualizing the nutrients coursing through your bloodstream. Visualize the nutrients, in this case, the amino acids, arriving at the muscle that you're working. And, the information really got granular, and I appreciate the detail, because what good does it do to go into the gym and push a bunch of blood to your muscle when it's not carrying anything meaningful for the development of that muscle? That was something I hadn't even considered. But again, I'm in reduction mode. I was a fat kid. By fourth grade, I think I was pushing maximum density for my frame. And that was a function of having parents that were born in 1932, so they grew up during the Great Depression. And I've covered this on my channel before. I didn't put the food on my plate, but the expectation was that I cleaned the plate. Well, if you've got dietary fat and carbohydrate in the same meal, congratulations, you're now in fat storage mode. So it took me all through junior high into high school to shed that excess fat. And then, I stayed lean through college, stayed lean for the most part, all throughout my time in the Navy. And then, life happened, marriage, kids, weight gain, stress, all that, not making excuses, just speaking about the factors that influence our lives as adults, busy adults. So, I got results with a low carbohydrate, high fat approach, the ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, prolonged fasting. I don't think I did myself any favors with that. And then over a long time horizon, 7, 8, almost 9 years, I got the sense that I just completely trashed my thyroid, and also never got to the point that the insulin resistance was gone. I was just avoiding the macronutrient, the carbohydrate, that would then, showcase the limited degree to which I could tolerate glucose. And then, of course, doing this low-fat, high-carb approach, then I discovered that, to my way of thinking, it's related to the gut flora, but I discovered that I was fructose intolerant. So, it's been this long, protracted period of learning and like guess and check. Only not guess and check because there's so many talking heads. No disrespect intended, but there are so many talking heads that endorse the ketogenic diet, which, that was, if I'm not mistaken, came from the Mayo Clinic in 1924, specifically to treat seizures in children. And it's like, well, they're still growing, so if you're going to cut their carbohydrates, what can you feed them? Well, fat and protein. But, there's there's so much advice on the internet. One of my friends jokes about, on the internet where all things are true. But there's so much conflicting dietary advice. So to like stumble onto a low-fat, high-carb approach, which I knew existed, I was aware of bodybuilders doing, lean chicken, rice, that sort of thing. I haven't lived under a rock, not entirely anyway. But I never tried it out because all the meal prep that goes into, being competitive on the bodybuilding stage, it's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, know thyself, right? And in this case, the context that I knew myself to be was like, not lazy because I worked hard. When my kids were still very young, I was working 2 jobs, like officially, like W-2 jobs. And then I was also renovating the house and then, doing a like engine rebuilding and restoration business out of my garage. So, a lot of short nights of sleep and yeah, so it's easy for me to see where cortisol would have been high. I was in a constant sleep deficit. I wasn't fueling my body appropriately. And then one December, I even took on a temporary job at UPS to deal with the holiday packages, that increase of several magnitudes in the amount of packages that UPS has coming through. And I remember there was times I'd leave the UPS job and manage to stay awake on the drive home and then hit a drive-through. And then, I'd wake up the following morning to my alarm and I'd still have my work boots on. I'd be seated on the couch but laid over, surrounded by food wrappers. It's like, that's not a healthy life. That's not a healthy life. But yeah, like I was still viewing myself in this lens of like lazy, right? And I was the furthest thing from lazy, but I didn't have that commitment to go to the gym. I didn't see where it would even fit in my schedule. But any case, fast forward to now, it's like I see the wisdom in what all the bros were doing, all the bodybuilding guys. Man, they really had their diet dialed in and they had a lot of discipline to go with that. So, respect. And I'm very grateful to be, beyond this fructose intolerance that I was dealing with. And it's highly satisfying to see results from the scale. It's like, yeah, I'm just consistently dropping. So of course that feels good. So, it's the positive feedback loop, right? And to the extent that I've mentioned visualization, again, I'll quote from that book, Reality Transurfing, by, I believe the author's name is Vadim Zeland. He talks about our thoughts are as critical, I'm paraphrasing, our thoughts are as important, maybe was the word, our thoughts are as important to our destiny as concrete actions are. And yeah, again, the audiobook by Dr. Bruce Lipton titled The Biology of Belief. It's all things brought together in this like confluence of, positive thinking, visualization, gratitude, and of course good information. And then once you have the good information, executing on it. So yeah, I'm anxious for the morning weigh-in. I know it's the early morning hours right now. But But yeah, here in a few hours, I'll get up and I'll weigh in again, and I anticipate that the results will be another downward trend on the body weight. So with that, I will close, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, hope you had a great day. See ya.